Welcome. It's the crypto sniper in the room saying hello to you. Yes, sniping from the sidelines in our camo, shoot, and other things that are being sniped and falling like a dead soldier in Ukraine is in fact Bitcoin. Yeah, it's not looking great for Bitcoin. Let's go have a look at the charts. Thank you for the likes. There's 32 of you on. Yeah, 18 likes. We appreciate it. Let's get this bumped algorithm moving. There's big things happening. And here's a couple of thoughts that I have surrounding all of this. We will go to the shared screen, share screen. Our friend has gone real quiet, blocked us. He's Benjamin Cohen of the fame that says new highs, Bitcoin only long versus the alts and the rest of the market. Our position was that is the top. We had already called once before. We're saying this time is the top. Up top here, can you see? Is he sharing screen? Checking with the eyes. Let's have a look, and we will see. Oh, the adverts are playing. So that top 66% was our call, and our feeling is that that is in, and in fact, Bitcoin is vulnerable, and it's vulnerable slightly differently, and it's all a bit arse about face, if you don't mind. It's vulnerable after there not really being a huge alt run of any sort to count, and it's vulnerable in a way that Bitcoin dominance is going down in what could in fact be a potential top. It's vulnerable in Bitcoin dominance. I am checking your comments. Thank you for your comments. Put them in, the like, and watching the live stream right here. Francis and Rupert are goats. Thank you to you. Corner Noble 2832. 100 of you in the house. Yes, Francis. Yes, Martin wants to tell us something. Martin van Burkenhaven. Yes, Huda, when moon, some people are asking. So the key point is Bitcoin is going down and dominance is going down. That means the other tokens that haven't, in fairness, run as much are actually holding up better, and Bitcoin is more vulnerable. Look at this rising wedge. Of course, we were called out. No, you've been wrong 3 times, said our friend, Mr. Benjamin Cohen. And this is our assertion. No, we haven't been wrong. These were spikes. That was a liquidation spike that fizzled all the way back into the wedge, and you had one more as well. And now, in actual fact, you clustered up with a fractal of a flag along the basing ascending grind line here. We're on a 12-hour, by the way, that's half a day. And you set up that mini flag, and it is down. This is a Bitcoin sell-off. This is a Bitcoin sell-off on a rising wedge. We have been saying that. We said a short Bitcoin can be a great hedge against a demand-destroying event. High beta, panic, plus we've got some extra little goodies that are weighing in to make this ultra vulnerable. And I think it's a very strange position of our friend Ben that says the first version is the best version. It's not only the best version, it's the only version, and anybody who talks about anything else is altcoin shiller. Let's have a look at what's been going on in the news in terms of all of that. This is what we've been talking about. Let's clean that. So a lot of cope also in the maxis, by the way. A lot of cope. Oh no, this country is rushing to buy 100 million. This hedge fund guy is rushing to buy a gazillion, etc. There seems to be suddenly a lot going on. Let's have a look at the gold Bitcoin chart. So while we pull up this on our Twitter profile, don't forget to follow the crypto sniper. We will never DM you, by the way. We will never DM you or ask you for feedback or any clever BS. So the crypto sniper, anything else is a scam. Look at the follower numbers. You see that, you see this number of points of bagel touches here, all the way back to 2013. What are we looking at? We're looking at a monthly, and it's Bitcoin divided by gold. So there are a number of reasons why Bitcoin is bearish. We're going to be covering quite a few of them. Yeah, a touch, another touch, almost a COVID touch, not quite. And then grinding along the line, marginally higher high here, which is marginally higher to the legacy highs there. This was 40.7 ounces for one Bitcoin. Now you are falling through the 23. That is nearly 50% reduction. Gold is climbing relative to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is topping. And I also highlight this has been on the cards. Yes, it's a log scale chart. It's worth remembering. But the multiples in gold ounces have been getting more convex, the ability to go higher, the bent banana. We spoke about the bent banana in Bitcoin dollar, and we're now speaking about it against gold ounces. You can see the ability to scoot to such extreme highs in short time is getting greater reduced. More time needed, failure to make new highs. Now this legacy since 2013, basing ascending grind line, aka trend line for those of traditional training, has been broken, and has been broken badly by Bitcoin. So I've even said, but, you know, there's many ways to draw a trend line. What if we ignored all the fact that it was such a small market cap, etc., and we only look at the trend from the 2019 lows in the blue? So we pivot over to little boy blue, and we look at that, we look at our CV19, we look at that, we look at that. You are breaking any form of trend line even since 2019, when Bitcoin was already a significantly bigger market cap. This is a falling, cascading trend lines that are relenting and failing, basing ascending grind lines, all to a lean on top. This is kind of bearish now for Bitcoin, and I would say any chance of maybe the 150K reversal chance to the upside is being greatly reduced. There was also other intel that has been crossing our desk, other people's work, which look quite interesting, that I'd like to show you. So let's go through a number of things that we've been showing. In fact, let's finish with our friend MicroStrategy. Saylor was charged, by the way, we're going to talk about strategy. MicroStrategy, now strategy. In 2000, Saylor was charged by the SEC with fraudulently reporting MicroStrategy's financial results for the preceding 2 years. He reached a subsequent settlement. He lost $6 billion in the dot-com bust. What a perfect guy to run the next Ponzi. He's lived it already. He's already delivered. Buying quite a lot. We are buying quite a lot. Why is the price continuing to go down? The Emirates is buying. You're buying. Everybody says we're now buying. We're all buying. Everybody's buying in the market. Who the hell is selling? King Kong? Oh, I don't know. Wow. Somebody's got to ask the question. Guess what? Things don't go up. And then some people will say to you, this is very much in the cope area, OTC, man, you don't understand how this works. It's all being done OTC. Well, here's the problem with that argument. Okay, if someone, a big nation, a big country, all buying Bitcoin, OTC, it has to be priced cheaper, otherwise they'll buy in the exchange. That means Bitcoin is selling at a discount, OTC. If it's selling at the same price and it's the same deal, well, they can do that negotiation, they can deal it. It doesn't have any effect on price. If it's slightly more, why wouldn't they buy in the open market? The open market's price should not be falling. People are profit seeking. If the open market price is falling, why would they choose to buy OTC unless OTC is offering it to them cheaper? There's no one on the bid side. The price is dropping. We still have to show you the price chart. We've shown you only the dominance chart, which we will do. So I'm smelling a lot of coke. They're rolling this guy out right now. We will have a look at Strategy's share in a minute. Here's some things. Some charts. This was our friend Benjamin. Bitcoin dominance is back above 60 and poised only to go higher, he said on the last day of October. He raged against the likes of me, saying a few people preach Bitcoin, only a few people like him preach Bitcoin dominance and talk about good ways to invest in crypto long term. The only good way. You do understand you're being trained and taught that there's only one solution, and it was the first one. It's like me, as I say, riding a penny farthing as my mountain bike and driving a Model T Ford. But no, the first, especially in tech and software, by the way, the first is only the best, apparently. Bitcoin dominance only goes higher, he says. The toxic Bitcoin maxis learned the hard way. You should listen to those smarter people that learned the hard way. The smarter people than you and the more experienced people than you that are telling you that what you should do. You shouldn't be shitcoin. Everything else is a shitcoin. Okay, Ben, why is Bitcoin dominance going down? Bitcoin dominance is going down. Deary me. He loves a bit of moving average twaddle. In other words, hey, we just crossed a line that involves price. Our price moved across a line given the mathematics model that you added to your moving average. We crossed that. Okay, so what does that actually mean? Managed to close above the 50-week SMA. Well, congratulations. What does that mean? What do you do about that? There's nothing you do about it. Moving averages are not a tradable or meaningful. It's the simplest system to code for. It really is. It is not a meaningful trading or investment decision option tool. And they always get optimized for the most recent history. You see that? I can choose one that does this just perfectly and say that's the key one. It's ironic when people choose, he also chooses 21-day moving averages. This is very ironic. People don't even understand where the 21-day came from. The 21-day came from trading days in traditional markets, Monday through Friday, in 1 month. It represented 1 calendar month. That's why you have 21-day moving averages. And then they would just round it down for a quarter. It would be a 60-day, which technically should be a 63, but they thought, nah, we'll just do 60. That's it. It's number of trading days in a month and a quarter, 21-day. And Bitcoin trades on the weekend. Why would you do 21 on something that trades 30 days out of 30? So they don't even have the history and the understanding where all of this comes. It's just optimization and moving average twaddle. And of course, Tulip Mailer. I found where they're holding the altcoin conference. Okay, maybe it's just a little bit of humor, but it's what he thinks. His NSA token, also known as Bitcoin, which also happens to be stuck in a leveraged Ponzi-onomic treasury scam by a guy who crashed out $6 billion in the last .com. That's what's going on, and that's what you should bear in mind. And he also says, this is the quality of the TA. Bitcoin dominance has gone up 8 weeks in a row. There's your 8 weeks. That little tiny walk. Look at those candle bodies, friends. That's your walkout. Sorry, friends. This is a rising wedge. If you're a technical analyst, you should be doing pattern structure. That is called a grind. It is weakness. Moving averages, twaddle, and 8 weeks when you're not looking at the patterns. It's more like that. It's more like that. That's what we see. That's what we predict. And by the way, you had a 19 billion absolute pump and fizzle all the way back down. You had a huge liquidation, which is especially hard on alts, which have much less bid stack, much less everything. You got a temporary spike in Bitcoin dominance. It couldn't hold any of it and ended all the way back in the rising wedge. And that was a huge event. I mean, Trump made billions. The Trump family made billions. All the Zio queens and kings and all the other prostitutes and podium whores that hang around him all made huge money at the cost of others. You saw guys with 60 million end up with less than $9,000. You saw all the P&Ls, all the major drama and travesty that went along with that. It was far larger even than FTX and Three Arrows Capital by overall loss. I mean, I don't think in terms of the ecosystem it was larger, but in monetary terms, it was significantly. Plus, you had a second go, and that fizzled too. We predicted that this was going to fall. That was a day before, and you can see how it's turned out today. I started this with exactly that. You can decide if you want to buy into your imaginary friends, Jack Mailer's with his dad that was behind the commodities trade, big guy in the futures and commodities, all of these kid heroes, which now reframe, hey, you should be happy if the NSA was involved. So first of all, it's Liberty Coin for your freedom. Then it becomes, hey, look, we don't like it when you ask about it. That was Michael Saylor. We don't like it. We're very sensitive about people talking about our origin story. Don't ask questions. Talk about CIA agent Mossad Simp and paid. Part of his settlement deal with the SEC was probably you're going to run another Ponzi just like you ran this one for us. And you're going to go all in knees deep so that you can bring in liquidity via the stock market and punters and real retail morons so that we can get exit liquidity for all our CIA agents and top brass that all are original gangster wallets in Bitcoin and needed exiting, that you've all seen an absolute wave of exits on people that haven't had the discipline not to trade for 15, 14, and 13 years. And now you are seeing record releases. It's on the blockchain. You know, that surveillance grid they designed. They're even showing you getting out. And who's the liquidity? Retailers buying BlackRock ETFs and MicroStrategy share buyers and their debt instrument buyers. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Benjamin Netanyahu, you are on the wrong side of history, in my opinion. But anyway, it's not just a takedown of somebody who declared a three-peat. Let's have a look at that Bitcoin price. We warned if this goes to the downside, out of the falling wedge, it could be a type 2. By the way, you could still get a bounce. So there's two things that happen. You've had a 3 impulse falling wedge here. We're pointing to that. You could make the next level. So 100 was the support level, 108 before it. You can see these levels. We've given them many times on the channel to you. We're the first people to have drawn these levels. Now that it's become more obvious, the 108, the 100, just run. And the next level you're still looking for is actually the 94/93 level down here. Now, this is a slightly steeper than you might have expected. It's actually almost steeper than that. But, you know, you have steep bits in it that's going on. There's two kinds of falling wedges once you break out the bottom. It's a type 2, which just is a flush out, and then it comes back in, and then struggles with the 300, pulls, and then breaks. And then there's the actual big real problem where you get a weak bounce and you set up a real weak here and you let go of the 94 and you run the 86. That's called a type 3. We define those. It's in our theory. You can book a call by hitting the link below to find out how and when. Very difficult to trade because lows keep getting made. You can't set stops easily to it. We prefer the HVF setup, which is its cousin. That's right. That's right. Hit the likes, friends. Help us with that. And don't forget to subscribe. We'd like to take the channel to the 100,000 mark. We'd appreciate your help with it. And we've been trying to keep you out of getting into trouble. And we've warned Bitcoin is not your friend. It's not your friend. And in performance terms, I don't think any of the cryptos are your friend, but some of them will be potential outperformers for which pragmatically you can make some money in at the moment. BTC dominance has probably turned, as we've already said. You saw it, and it is falling. BTC is falling against gold. Let's have a look at it against gold again in the live chart. You only saw the Twitter chart, which needs updating since this morning. And let's see, Bitcoin, what have we got? We'll do stamp for the history. And there you are. You are through 25. You're at 23. You're at the round number of 23. This is not good, strong technical structure, friends. There is even the ghost of a head and shoulder suggestion in here that is triggering right now. This is not good technical structure. Guess what? The people with the money who sell the goods, China, Russia sells energy, China sells products. They're choosing not to buy an CIA token. Funny that, Mossad token. They are going for precious metals and they want vaulting. That means they're buying gold. They say you can keep your imaginary internet money with your Japanese friend that you chatted to in your sleep when you were a little boy. You can keep it. We'll buy physical things. We'll buy physical things that we can hold and store because they always stay there. We always control it. There's no built-in back doors. There's no chicanery. There's no CIA coin in it. There's no threat of quantum computing and everything else that goes with it. And the oldest technology on the blockchain, etc. There's no Bill Gates type coders forming layer 2s called lightning networks or anything else like that. We'd rather not have those people in our lives. We'd sooner have a gold bar and own it. And we can touch it at any time. Kind of like my shoulder press here. Every morning, must do the 100-ounce shoulder press. Come on, boys. You should be also purchasing. And this is what we've always encouraged you guys. There's a lot of people. Wow, the number of influencers in crypto have died. It's like terrible market, bull market, and they've died. Why are we who we are? We are holistic. The reset sniper, the market sniper, the crypto sniper, it's about HVF method. And then rather than bottling ourselves into one market, we have been able to play where the action is. The action has been precious metals, miners in there. It has not been a great alt market, and it hasn't been a particularly good Bitcoin market, although we called the dominance in the beginning as being the key theme when we were a long time ago, when we were still in the box, the stall box. But we started getting itchy feet and calling the top on it a tiny bit early. That was it. When we were down here, you could see that was the breakout of the lower end of the box that I'd shown you drawn. And that was the time to be in Bitcoin, and we were in it. But it was an okay-ish kind of run. We got a wobble there early and we're wrong. This time I think we're right. That is a shooting star on a monthly time frame, followed by a smaller inside shooting star, which is actually red. That, my friends, if you are Ben Cowan, you need to take a technical analysis lesson from yours truly, I'm afraid. Forget your moving averages, your 50 exponential weighted hobbledy-gobbledygook mathematical lagging formula on price data. You need to take a simple candlesticks course and you'll get to understand a whole bunch more. And these guys have hundreds of thousands. The only reason, to just drag them in and take them down a little bit is they get very high and mighty, and they have lots of people that are being influenced by them. Those people need protection from the wrong thing. NSA token is not going to be overperforming. Bitcoin dominance is not at 60% and going to make new highs. It is not happening. It's a reversal on balance of probabilities. We've got two huge months there. The one confirms the other, fails to go as high, and is another rejection. Rejection twice in two separate months in a rising wedge. This will go down. And the problem is it has this Ponzi called MicroStrategy bolted onto it. So we owe it to you to take a look at strategy. We've called this guy a three-letter agency PSYOP from the first time we saw his top lip. And I can tell you, he's an oily salesman before I even knew about his history on the 6 billion. And I've got to warn everybody, this is a nasty spill. It's a nasty spill on a very pumped up stock. It had some pretty scary spills prior. Let's not, we can't say it's going to go bust, but I think there's going to be some very, very awkward questions. We were looking at it and saying, if it turns here, it could be all right. If Bitcoin turns, that was before running that low, and we were watching this, and we have called it to the long side when it deserved it, which was the early part of the Bitcoin bull market, which is always when he's going to be viewed in the kindest light. Now the light gets super critical. How have you been doing these notes? What's been going on? MicroStrategy must be squirming. I'm surprised Michael Burry wasn't tempted to take a short there. This was your final and only just HVF here. And you got that last move up. Since then, you had a kind of broadening structure that gave you one more push to the high sides. You failed to make a new high, bearing in mind that was the 555s up there almost. And this has been an unsteady holding at these levels, and now you are accelerating. This is starting to look like the man peas off the roof pattern. And remember, there's huge leverage in this, and the NAVs have dropped quite substantially on MicroStrategy. So technically, this is looking potentially like it desperately needs a bid. But don't you worry. Apparently, everyone is wailing in. Don't you worry. Everyone is wailing in to buy. Let's check. Where's it? The news on we're getting unbelievable amount of repeater type Novogratz. And this is Novogratz coming in to say it's going to make 130 and 150K. We're getting huge people showing up to come push the bull argument. CZ doing some dips. He's trying to suggest buying the dips. Many dips along the way. Just got liquidated 3 years. Half of these are fake. It's not the actual guy. They've taken it from somebody else's P&L. I've seen the same 5.29. So there's a lot of engagement by frauds that are using other people's problems. Bitcoiners call Saylor one of the best investors ever. The exact opposite is the case, though. From 2020 till today, Saylor has turned 47.5 billion, his investors fund, into 61 billion USD current BTC asset value. That's just over 5% annualized per year over those 5 years. And on top of that, he can't get out of his position without totally nuking it. He is the elephant in the room now. He's second biggest to the imaginary Japanese friend that isn't the NSA we promise, and BlackRock won't assume control for it, for the trans movement, the climate change, and everything else they want. No. That won't ever happen, I assure you. Given that no one's shown up, eventually they're going to time that one out and assume custody, not take ownership, assume custody. You do understand. Yes, indeed. I wonder if the maxis will even realize then. So strategy has given you a 5% annualized return and is strapped to his chest, like a suicide bomber, more debt with fuses lit than anybody else knows. And he's got a casino chip of imaginary internet money that's highly volatile price, could set all those explosions off at once. Wow. That's a kind of interesting situation, all told. I'm hoping to see where's all those sudden splurge of everybody suddenly buying Bitcoin. There's been an absolute freak out amount of statements. Axel is highlighting how the broadening structure is breaking to the downside through the basing descending grind line. He's doing a little bit. He's pretty solid on his TA. Certainly a lot better than Ben, I would say. And we're rolling over. Novogratz is in the room. Who else was there? There's a couple of people that keep sharing the same chart. There's a lot of repeater pro Bitcoin influencers. And they will tend to post things, the same chart all the time, different ones. Watch out for it. So there's you are becoming much more aware. The gold rotation trade. Where's everybody who sold the gold to buy Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin going down against gold? Remember that one. We didn't stop seeing it. Stay out of crypto if you can't handle the volatility. You got to have some real balls, man. This is not for kiddies and sissies, okay? Like us, we get to front run the collapses and take your money. But hey, don't complain to us. No crying in the casino. No crying in the casino. Little kid, go on, shuffle on, lose like a man. Boy, oh boy, what a capture. The whole crypto realm is absolutely discredited by the Ponzi that Bitcoin has turned into with this strategy tie-up. It is an absolute Ponzi-onomics of leverage piled upon leverage. I'm hoping to see, there we go. It says American could potentially lose. Oh no, he didn't say that. When Bitcoin hits 10 million, it doesn't mean that cheeseburger is 500. Mark Moss, another one of these absolute Bitcoin shills. He's come on here and I read the paper. You need to read the white paper to truly understand this. I read the white paper, man. I tell you how it is. Like I gave up motocross and now I'm a major investor. I can tell you, he's shilled. He's got affiliates to everything and he's telling you about Bitcoin. Another voice you can't trust. There's too many voices of distrust around here. I mean, this is not a good chart, friends. This is not a good chart. The 4-year cycle has remained intact. That's a rollover and break. You can see the top out. That's a rollover and break. You're out of that trend. Other people's charts, we can read it in there. And boy, has our friend Max been busy. Max Kaiser of $1 million Bitcoin. $1 million. $1 million. Who knows what market cap that will be? Oh, it will be 22 trillion. Who's going to be the guy that's going to come and put the other 20 trillion in, Max? Is it you? Are you a trillionaire? There's a lot of cope and a lot of BS. Bitcoin Magazine, all the boys, Jack Maylers, this skater boy kid, that is the son of a commodity that's telling you, people, you don't understand Bitcoin. You just don't understand Bitcoin. You don't understand. You just have to wail in. He's starting a treasury company, wants to be Saylor Mark II and to be a bottomless pit of cash, whoever will let him raise so that he can wail into Bitcoin. This is the environment. These are your guys. And he's the one who says, so what if it was the NSA that was involved in doing it? It might actually be positive for you. Wow, where's all of this? Big breaking news. Bitcoin. Trump's top crypto advisors, Bailey, estimates a 75% chance Congress eliminates capital gains on crypto. They are putting out any article right now as you are seeing this. Everyone is acting irrational. We're in the greatest bull market in Bitcoin. Are we? Does it feel like the greatest Bitcoin in history? You think you're not going to throw everything that they can at us? Larry Fink said Bitcoin is going to 700. Yeah, there's your mates. Now you should be trusting a guy like that. Lols Finkelstein, thank you from Mr. Al-Habatsi for the super chats. You're welcome to put in super chats, guys. Hello, Sniper. Could you run a quick TA on YFI token? I most certainly will. Yeah, and XRP was created, as one of the comments are saying, before Bitcoin. It's not even the first. It likes to put itself forward as the first. People who sold Bitcoin and Master in time, that made a lot of people really, really angry. All the fancy watches, there you go. People who sold Master in time, Daytonas, Rolexes, Cartiers, and all of that nonsense. There's people getting real hurt by that. So Lols Finkelstein told you 700K. Now you can take that to the bank. A Zio pig that supports genocide in Gaza would never lie to a bunch of goyim when he needs exit liquidity for all his mates and his own tokens that he got given at inception of this project way back in 2009. My, oh my. We are living in a world of utter deception. This profile never stops throwing out. Vivek Sen, my goodness, you may as well block him. We will rally from here. I've been buying a lot, he says. Yeah, okay, Mikey, our hero. And then Pompliano. There is panic in the markets, but emotional investors are losing investors. Are you buying, Pompliano? Shouldn't you have been already all in? That's the other thing I love about these guys. All in. We're all in. If you have balls, you're all in. How many chairs are you sitting on? How many chairs? Amount I've had to listen to these clowns that think they've debunked portfolio theory. There's a reason why there's silver here. There's gold elsewhere. There's property, everything, portfolio, stability. You don't go everything. If you only have one car, you don't choose the Ferrari V12 with a front engine and the high maintenance costs. You have a Swiss Army knife. You actually have the 4x4 for the dirt roads and toughness. You have a Toyota for lugging things, you know, an LDV for cheapness, economy, and getting it dirty. You know, when you have a portfolio of cars, you don't just go all on the fastest car. It's the fastest horse. No, it's also the most lame horse. It has the biggest periods of lameness. 75% was the last correction. Let's say it does 70% or 65. You're going to be into the 40s. Where's that going to leave strategy? You think they won't have sold anything as part of being forced to, even if their covenants say they don't have to? How do you think the debt on that Ponzi-onomics works out? And there's yours in orange, our friend Maxi Boy. Yeah, Max was on the blower and now Leopard is out. It's kind of ironic that the simplest and best way to get rich is to do nothing. You just buy Bitcoin and forget it. Okay, it's really that simple. You should all just be buying Bitcoin, says Leopard. This is a guy that blocked us immediately when we referred to its origins as NSA. He seems very fragile about the origins. So that's what's going on. Let's have a look back at some of the charts. What's happening on the other places in and around this? In fact, while we're in the equities, let's also just have a look at coin. It's holding on okay, so there's probably not too much to go on there. So we were asked for YFI. So out of respect to our super chat, let's do that one first. YFI, and wow, man, I don't like that chat. I don't like that chat. That's got a flaw and it's leaning hard on the floor. YFI, that's a nasty flaw. By the way, I'm no fan of that schizo wick either. I hope it's just on this exchange that happened. We'd like to verify that, so we'll go somewhere else. Yeah, not so much there. So the problem you have here is that this has no reversal structure in it. It's had a nasty ass spill. There's an example of a falling wedge that did a type 3. And since then, you've been in this box here, and most of the price behavior is in the lower half, and it's on a lean. So you really need an alt run to fire up to try and get yourself a bump out of that. So I'm not a fan. I assume you're a holder, so I don't like, hurting your feelings or being mean. But technically, this is not good. Over previously when you had sort of falling wedges, you did get a bump. So I mean, maybe there's a possibility if the other products, again, falling wedge. This is how this box period has gone. Falling wedge, bump. New falling wedge, bump. Very harsh sell-off, not even really a falling wedge, but with a squeeze later on here. Very harsh sell-off. You need that bump. Let's hope it can come for you. I hope it does. I fear for you that it's not a very well-backed and supported token. There's a key round number here around what's the level that's just run. It's around 4,000. Maybe you could go a bit higher, 4.5. If I was doing that, I'd say there may be some degree of support for it at the 4.5 level, but all things can end as well, especially if they get leaned on forever. So yeah, just generally not a fan, wouldn't recommend personally. I like to see things that have shown some relative strength. And it is leaning on that 4.5, but it's spending a lot more time leaning on that 4.5. And if we have a very bad demand destroying event, you could see that break to the downside. Sorry to say it, you could, but you could also, if the alts start to run and Bitcoin is just languishing or even climbing slowly back up, you could get a pop. So the time will tell. There is a little bit of a squeeze on there, but not too sexy, not too sexy. Let's talk about some of the others. XRP. So what has XRP been doing during all of this Bitcoin selling off? Let's have a look at it against Bitcoin, in fact, before we even do that. XRP is going up relative to Bitcoin. That means part of the reason why Bitcoin dominance down. The rails for the new system has an assured reason for existence, while Bitcoin, which has become a Ponziized treasury option, may not even survive. I'm not saying it goes to zero. I'm not saying it disappears, but we've said that Bitcoin dominance goes to the 20s in the long term. That's not overnight. That's not next week. But Bitcoin dominance to head down. Big wick, that was the hyper liquidation wick that worked against XRP. Lack of bid stack, but right the way back up and creeping up against Bitcoin. But does that mean it's been good against the dollar? I doubt anything has been particularly helpful in Bitcoin's current price behavior. So again, a downside lean. Although I'd say on the day it's a hammer. Let's remove some of our legacy work there. A little bit of a hammer. So it did test lower with Bitcoin and it's come back up. So Bitcoin itself is softer than some of its major peers. That is a nasty spill. That's its day. That's a nasty spill. And you wanted equity money to get involved to give you extra pumpermentals. Now you have it. Now you have what goes with it. If that Ponzi scheme unravels, you could have problems. You could have real problems. Nice to have the Venezuelans in the house. Yeah, you are King Senor Francis. Hola, ¿cómo está? The charts show even the whales have been getting wrecked all year and behave. By the way, Bitcoin is down for the year in a period where the S&P's up, the Nasdaq's still up, the gold is up, silver's up, everybody's up, the Bitcoin is down. Could this be the end of the cycle? So I did ask that question in the YouTube and I haven't shown you the chart that went along with that. So we did also tweet that. We'll have a word on Richard's new not so going so great sacrifice on that. I'll be interested in your posts if any of you are part of Hex Pulse and all of those communities. So let's have a little look and talk about that. We were what was it again that I got triggered on? BTC, no, it wasn't dominance. ZEC, let me pick up that thread of thought again. XRP, go back to that. XRP USD. So slight hammer, that's up. And we've also been speaking about XMR. So there's been a bit of a privacy game. That's heading up. Yes, it had a nasty slam back from its run, but that's heading up. It's on a green day. So, on a shorter time frame, this against Bitcoin, the secrecy coin, or privacy coin, is doing far better. We might need to multiply by 1,000 so that we don't get such small numbers. Times 1,000. Oops, we need a asterisk in there. So Monero is looking stronger and is not falling in an environment where Bitcoin is. It's gone up from 1.97 to 4.14. So its relative performance, Monero's relative performance to a falling Bitcoin shows that it's a better hold right now, and it is one that I hold. I was hoping for more. It came back. I held through the fizzle. So I went up, I went down. I'm still in it. I think the privacy theme is a rich one. It's one of very few things actually that I'm holding. I'm not in XRP or all our big ones apart from that. What about Tron? Let's have a look at Tron, TRX. So this thing obviously has stable coin. We have our friend Ben Johnson now talking about how the dollar survives because stable coins. Cause stable coins. Now that looks interesting. Tron is overperforming Bitcoin as well. And in actual fact, it has quite a nice structure. It's a big, bloated second impulse, and you are now moving quite briskly against Bitcoin. In fact, a lot of big cap alts are moving quite briskly against a falling Bitcoin. So some of these trades could be taken on account of Bitcoin dominance is in trouble. And MicroStrategy, my feeling strategy, could be in trouble. And they could be a very, very big seller if they become forced to sell. He may not be obliged to sell, but it may be proven to be in his best interest if he gets leaned on by shareholders. Mathematics counts. Losing people money gets a lot of angry phone calls squeaking on your line. You may just be forced to take action you never thought you would end up taking. This is what I've said. Be warned. Forced selling is the worst selling. It always is. It's the worst selling. Margin calls, massive crashes well beyond what people thought, huge volatility. Forced selling is horrible selling, and it has contagion effects on price, and it will smash all the supposed bids of Saudi money coming in to buy Bitcoin. This hedge fund manager declared he's just bought 90 million Bitcoin. Pricing going down like that. The ex-media on this, as I've said already, watch the hell out. Watch the hell out. You're being sold so many pups and unprovable lies. And you must watch the situation in terms of exit liquidity. So to remind us all, I prefer, as ever, you do your gold-based evaluation on all things. Leave this volatile Bitcoin out of the equation. It's not holding up. How's Tron doing on a bigger time frame? And that is our draw. We can do it weekly. In fact, we can go weekly, get a little bit more detail in there. But this is the draw. It remains the draw. It's still suffering and at a localized support, just marginally lower. It's not ready to go yet for us in this grand setup that we have, which is support. It's at the support of the funnel level. So Tron is a great hold, but I'm not in it yet. I'll wait till I start to see a stir. I was hoping that we might get a nice little windy uppy here, but this has actually gone a little bit lower here than there. So it's not going to be an HVF, but it can be, you know, a kind of like that, a little bit of a wedge grind that could see an up, a down, and then later a break. But all of this seems like those alts still have time before they're going to be doing anything. Do you need to be maximal all in? Outside of the Monero holding, I would say the answer is probably not. Outside of the Monero, which had a key privacy theme, which we saw with the ZEC. So YFI, not so good. Harmonic, I don't have any thoughts on Harmonic, but even though I don't believe in any one theory, this was the 1064. That's what I was going to go try find you when I was starting. I was like, what was it I was doing? And then it just skipped my mind again. So there's the Monero on the same basis. By the way, it's in a real bull market. That's a real continuation pattern. It's looking strong. I like it. I'll still hold it. So what were we looking for? We shared this post over here, and it's in our profile. So I just have to dig a little bit deeper and we will find it. And this was that Bitcoin had moved, and that there was 1,064 days of long and around 364 days of short. Samsung, oh my goodness, that news. Here we go. Let's show you that. So according to this guy who posted the following, not my work, I've just embedded it in my thoughts. It's a Reddit poster and it belongs to somebody else. He posted this on 12/12/23, which was a Tuesday. That's quite a long time ago. It's quite a fair call. This person, deserves fair credit. If I knew his name, I'd call it. But now we'll just call him Anony Mouse. So the mouse said, here's your all-time highs and your all-time lows. All-time low 2015 to 2017, better part of 1,064 days. all-time high 2017, which was pretty much the year end, and the all-time low was pretty much again the year end. I remember that. It was almost a perfect year. It was really, really interesting. 364, and then the all-time low of 18, all the way up to the final high of 2021, which of course was the 69, not the 64, was 1,064 days. So you got your 1,064 days there. So you have basically a year, and then you have 2 years and 2/3 of a year, I would argue. It's not quite 3. And then all-time high 2021 to all-time low 2022, that was the 15K bottom. That was 364 days. So according to this pattern, for those that did the maths, and I feel stupid for not having seen this myself personally, I'm using someone else's work, the pattern would print this cycle's all-time high at the 6th of October, 2025. That's what the man say. And here's your chart, friends. 6th of October, 2025, and things are getting ropey out there. Techs, AI, the debt instruments on Oracle regarding AI investment, all of these CDSs are starting to get sketchy. There's a bit of a risk-off, command-destroying event vibe out of this. This could well be a very, very accurate and exceptional call by the individual involved. 126,224 was that high, and you would then be looking at 364 days of nothing but mainly down. And at that point, you'll find out how big a balls Michael Saylor has, or more importantly, his investors, and how much power he has over them when they are getting properly peed at the thought of going slowly bankrupt and watching it happen in slow motion. Now, what are the key numbers for Michael Saylor? Well, they tell you that the average purchase price is 74,000. So he's destroyed value with no return. If he gets to 74,000, people have made zero return. They've been in all of this for ages. Plus, he has interest on coupons to pay that have to be funded from somewhere. And if he doesn't have the money, he'll have to sell Bitcoin, or he'll have to borrow it to pay interest on other money. And only the Fed gets away with doing that, and the banking cartel. But who knows? Maybe Mikey will find a new way to leverage up. And at around 25K, he's entirely insolvent. All assets are worth less than everything. And I think something will happen long before 25K. If we get a 70% drawdown on 126, so who wants to know what the number is? Last time it was 75 drawdown. And I actually think we could have a bigger crisis this time. So I don't think you can assume that it'll keep getting less, because it was 90, there was 80. I don't think you can assume less, but let's do 75. Let's say it was the same. 1, 2, 6, 2, 2, 4, and let's go times 0.25. That's if we have a 75% reduction, 31,556. Let's just say the sharks will be smelling blood, and the shorters on MicroStrategy stock will have taken it to new lows, and he will battle to get any borrowing from anyone at any reasonable rate. He might have some junk bond financier who will offer him debt at 14%, all of which he wouldn't be able to afford. But he will be living in a very, very uncomfortable place at $31,000. Were you to have an 80% and we have an AI collapse that is much bigger. Last time on the Bitcoin sell-offs, the tech collapse was not significant. You know, the things that went with FTX and all of that, the NASDAQ wasn't particularly worried during that time. We can go and have a look at it. We'll put Bitcoin under the NASDAQ and have a look. This time, I think we could get a crash for the ages on the NASDAQ. That's why Bitcoin started to sell off before the equities, when everything was smelling wrong. It is a high beta hedge against tech crash. In fact, it will overperform to the downside. You don't have to short near as much to hedge your tech portfolio by selling Bitcoin, and it's sufficiently liquid at 2 trillion market cap now for reasonable amount of portfolio protection. So it's inadvertently become this. And don't forget, it was your Liberty token. You thought getting involved with Wall Street, BlackRock was going to make it all, and it was all pumpermentals. No, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. You are an early crasher in concern for fear on technology and the stock markets, and you are a high beta, which will deliver an extra good return that requires less capital to be put for a proper hedge on stock portfolio by virtue of you being higher beta. And when you crashing these kind of percentages, being left 25% down. Don't forget, it was at 15K. 15K. It went down to 15K. So, and you're in the bent banana now, where the lows are rounding out as well. People will say, well, you traded 4K, in the CV19 low, 15 is, 3 and a bit higher. You'll be doing well to be double. You'll be doing well to be double. And if we have a tech rout in this environment, you're going to be worse, especially if you have a strategy damn wall bursting that can go to the downside. So that's what we're seeing. Thank you for the 483 of you coming on and smashing the like button. We appreciate it. Let's have a look at some of your shorting BTC as a store of value. I quite like that. Why would it drop the same amount as before when the upside was less and the market cap is bigger? I don't think it will. I don't think it will. It could go 65 and be more stable because it didn't go up as much. But my point is, I think we're in a more dodgy time outside of the crypto market in terms of assets, valuations, demand destroying events, and the NASDAQ. So let's go have a look at that off of that question, because I did mention we'll have a look at it. Beautiful Monero chart, by the way, still looks sexy to me. Yep. That's divided by gold, quite a hard taskmaster, gold. Let's go and have a look at IXIC, which is the NASDAQ comp. And we're going to split the chart. We'll hide all our drawers. We'll split the chart. And we are going to put in here, instead of that, we'll go Bitcoin on stamp and put the two under each other. And we're going to go a nice big juicy time frame so that we can see what was going on in the NASDAQ when certain things happened. And the last bear market, that's your 69 high right there, and there's your low. So you were quite close to the end of 2022, and then you were quite close to the end of 2023. There's your 364 days. That's your 15K. You did have a moderate during that period tech pull down. It was a pretty sizable one, actually, more so. The other thing is, you see here, Bitcoin didn't matter. It wasn't associated with tech. Tech stormed up. You've only had one medium-sized. You haven't had a dot-com bust, which clearly was in 99 and Bitcoin wasn't around. You haven't had a dot-com bust type tech sell-off anytime during events that Bitcoin has been around. In fact, the last sell-off here from 16.5 down to here, that was the 2021 high into the 2022, the late 22 lows, which was a little bit of post CV19 detox, let's just put it. It was a reasonable sell-off. It's the biggest we have for this time frame, and it's a nothing burger compared to .com. If we pull in .com, for those just to have a little bit of clarity, that is small beer, that is small beer compared to that. It's even small beer compared to this. These are far bigger percentage-based sell-offs in tech, none of which tech has experienced, and I think you're more precariously set with leverage. There's Enron vibes about MicroStrategy, Oracle, even FaceAche, although they'll probably survive even in the worst case scenario, NVIDIA, OpenAI, all these AI merchants who are so deep in chip buying and promising to do this on power that doesn't exist, on chips that have yet to be made. They're signing contracts. Oracle seems a real wild card. Palantir, on its ridiculous degree of earnings. You have peak insanity in terms of market cap to GDP measures on every level on the stock market, and everyone thinks it's different this time. Wow, You're going to have, you've never had anything like the internet. We won't crash. Nobody understands how big this is. Yeah, okay. Amazon up to 106 and back down to 6. Think about that in a percentage and what that does to Bitcoin. What does that do to Bitcoin? You think you're going to have, because you're a bigger market cap, you're going to have a smaller pullback than the cycle before? You can forget your halvening cycle. That doesn't even come into it. This is about capital, liquidity, and forced selling. And the bigger the crash, the bigger the smash, the bigger the liquidity squeeze, the bigger the problem. And these guys don't want you having wealth. They want to pump and then dump on you. They take the pump up and they bag hold on you. That's what the OG wallets of Bitcoin have been doing. They've been bag holding. You've never gone into a bear market where such a high percentage of Bitcoin original gangsters have got out. Why are they getting out? They had the best investment for an entire decade and a half. Why now? Why are they getting out? What's happening? These are the questions you should be asking. Let's have a look here and ask them. Bitcoin original wallets. Bitcoin OG whales. Show us this. How many have been selling? There have been a lot of OG ways selling. 31 million Bitcoin long bet emerges during 9% plunge. And 1 billion OG Bitcoin whales. Have a look and join this with me. Give Charles Edwards a follow. There we go. We're already following him. There he is. Capriola EIO. Orange is 100 million OG dumps. Red is 500 million. How many people have 500 million in Bitcoin? Do you have 500 million in Bitcoin? Do you have 500 million in Bitcoin? I do not. That is a very colorful chart for 2025. You think this doesn't matter? You think this doesn't matter? This could be one of the most important charts I'm showing you. The NSA original con artists that designed this on-ramp for CBDCs to fool you and trick you, that knew there was going to be pumpermentals, and then the story would probably get found out, brought into greater question when subjected to greater scrutiny. Failure to really build a proper narrative apart from the imaginary Japanese friend that disappeared into the ether, never wanted his money or his awards, just wanted to save the world from the banking system. Of course, by the way, they will never let you have your own money. Damn, I need to just, where's these? We've been doing stamps of things we say. We've been doing stamps of things we say. And one of them, it's not on this one, it's too far back. They will never let you have your own money. Listen to me, look into my eyes. You will never hear a more truer thing said to you right now. The multi-generational cult that controls the entire financial system from one generation to another, the Talmudic, the genocidal, the child trafficking, the organ trafficking, everything they do to extend their miserable lives and to sell poison to you, that has been going on not just for your life, but for the life before that, your parents' life, your grandparents' life, right back to Napoleon and beyond. Those people will, for ensuring their longevity, their power, and their control as technology moves forward, cannot afford for you ever to have your own issued money, that they do not control the issuance thereof. Listen to me now say that to you, because I will say it again. They cannot. They absolutely cannot. Your absolute freedom is guaranteed the day you have your own money system. They have stamped on nations. They have crushed leaders of countries. They've sent armies to destroy Gaddafi for thinking of a gold-backed dinar. They chased into Iran when they were thinking about doing euros, which is still part of the control structure, just a different flavor. Let me just warn you, they rushed and flushed out a guy that did e-gold and sent him to jail. They went absolutely bananas at any thought that there will be a money issuance system they do not control. The fact that BlackRock, the fact that Michael Saylor are all there pumping NSA token absolutely ensures that they control that. And certain politicians came out many years ago when that was still questionable by most, not me, and said, we will control Bitcoin. When they introduced the futures markets and the ETF markets and all of that. But first they brought the futures. You will not have your own money and be allowed to live. Such is their need for power over you. There is one key point. If you learn anything from me, from this, Everything is a hoax that looks like it's taking you away from the legacy banking system. They will dump that, but they will always be behind whatever the new thing is. The minute you think it's yours and it's freedom, you are an absolute fool. Hear me preach this hard and at you right now. I've said it 3 times. It's the truest thing I can ever tell you. It is truth written in blood, served in stone and locked in forever. It is a goddamn truth that the gods can strike it down and put it on holy commandment as your 11th commandment. The Satanist forces can never let you have your own money. Okay, so what's been going on in this chart that you absolutely need to see and is absolutely pivotal is that there are a few premature ejaculators that really wanted that 68K and 64K was good enough for them, and they started to wind down because they had unbelievable numbers already and there was enough wealth for them. But since the localized highs here and here, and red represents $500 million, and orange represents a minimum of 100 million. So if someone's selling 250, it's orange. 300, 400, it's orange. 500 plus is red. This is the end of the original OG wallets. Literally, they are getting out. Literally, they're getting out. You had one guy that couldn't hang on and wanted money now. He was probably got a doctor's note saying he's not going to live more than 3 years. And he got out perfectly at the top at Bitcoin 20K. I say one guy. It's maybe 2 lines. It's maybe 3. One in orange. The red lines start always at the low. How are they so brilliant with calling tops? How are they so brilliant at calling tops? And how can you look at this and see this huge distribution? And can we say that heavy selling is in the face of strategy doubling down as exits, toxic bank, because there's not enough liquidity in retail. The retail is wrecked. Retail is wrecked. Yes, they'll keep chasing you in to go buy. It's the biggest wealth of the thing. All you ever have to do is just buy another Satoshi of Bitcoin at the end of every month. You're going to see heartbroken people who bought these narratives. I am here actively to try save people from the absolute lies that are controlling, orchestrating system that seeks to keep you in poverty and sell you fantasy stories. You will see prediction. You will see when this bust in Bitcoin is in its fullest and everyone recognizes that the likes of Ben Cowan were wrong, Max Kowser were wrong, Saylor was wrong, they all lost money, all the people who promised you all these echoing tweet bots, that Vikesh, whatever, Bitcoin, the Saudis are bailing in. When you see all that was a lie and all of it's wrong, you're going to see small little people that saved everything they could and were just loyal hodlers in this NSA token left in pieces. That is a prediction. That is a huge dump that required lots of liquidity. Every red line represents over $500 million, between 500 and a billion in Bitcoin dollars that needed to come out. And guess what they're doing? Buying. They've been buying gold. The NSA insider, the CIA token insiders are buying gold because they know the system's wrecked. They're buying something they can hold. I'm telling you, they're buying properties and toys and other things too. But if they, of all the things that they're doing for long-term investment, they will know where we are and they will be in this. They will be in this. Warning, warning. The rotation trade is alive and well. It's out of Bitcoin into precious metals. It is the epoch of capital preservation. You are in the epoch since the debt markets turned of capital preservation. Nobody can borrow like they used to since the debt markets turned. Michael Saylor will be finding more about that when he sees the insurance on the CDSs and the prices for his probability of failure. By the way, it sits at just under 40% in 5 years. That he will fail at the current interest rate that he's charging. So that is quite high pricing for people to want a return on. So warning, this is a huge chart. This is a mega dump of people that were right so often. They were so goddamn early. I hadn't even heard of Bitcoin. You hadn't heard of Bitcoin. They were already in. They were already either mining it, getting awards for it, whatever. They were in. This is a distribution. For all you know, part of that hidden Satoshi wallet might actually be being distributed. People say they watch it. Maybe there's back doors. There's stuff being sold here. This was a massive wall of selling at the 100K. This is a massive wall of selling. Massive. Hundreds of millions and 500s of millions. It is a massive wall of selling of people that seem to know when the tops are in, and have very well informed, very fucking big money. You know what I mean? You know, that just seem to be lucky, like Larry Finkelstein, lucky like the other bastard on 9/11 day. What was his name again? Help me. He didn't show up to the office that day. He thought, you know, I'm just going to go see the doctor today instead. I won't have my dinner on the top of 9/11 tower. You know, real lucky. That kind of, wasn't he a Silverstein too? Wasn't he a Silverstein that got real lucky? You know, otherwise I would have been dead. It was so close. You know, I'm so grateful to God for saving me. And then I got paid out twice, you know, and I sued for more. You know, those kind of lucky Larrys. Lucky Larry. There's a couple of lucky Larrys all over the place, my friend. And you're busy looking at a chart that is telling you that. And you can ignore that information and you can ignore the repercussions of what exactly that means. But Bitcoin is being distributed on a massive scale by big holders who have made huge fortunes on massive run-ups. And you can digest that information and think about that. How smart do you think you are? You think you're smarter than these? Do you think you got bigger balls than them? Do you have bigger money than them? Are you going to hold back that tide? I suggest no, but that's just me. Ben Cohen says, put everything you got. Put everything you got, keep saving. Everything else is a shitcoin. The first version is the best version. Ride your penny farthing to the stock market and buy some more MicroStrategy and Bitcoin and drive home in your Model T Ford, because the first is the best. It's always the best. It's always going to survive. It'll never end up in a museum. Okay, that's it. So let's have a look at something else and have a look at some of your comments. Lucky Larry, yes, says Naked Crypto Trading. They can try to confiscate your meta, but they will fail, or they can freeze your tokens with a stroke of a keyboard. What do you think they will choose? I agree. I think the keyboard is easy. He overpaid for insurance for 2 towers riddled with asbestos. Yes, how dumb was that to do? But then got real lucky. Yeah, gold, please, Francis. It's kind of the crypto sniper. So we'll stick with crypto. We have done some cross valuations, but that's a minor crash. You've had in the last 25 years, you've had significantly bigger crashes than the 2021-2 crash. It was short by duration, and everything else is just a correction. These are corrections. This is small beer. So you've had, you know, that and this. Now, my personal fear for everybody is that you do something that could emulate that, and Bitcoin ain't seen that. And MicroStrategy will say, who could have seen it? Black Swan event. I couldn't have seen it. Like Greenspan. Who could have seen subprime? Black Swan event. Yep. Black Swans. Who built the Black Swan that led to that event? You did. Dishonestly so. Don't forget to hit the link below. You can book a call, have a chat, and find out how we use HVF method and why we will still say that at some point, not immediately, but I showed you the Monero chart, alts will have their day, and Bitcoin is not going to have its day to the same degree, I'm afraid. Hence our comments regarding Bitcoin dominance and everything else. So somebody asked for XLM, and that is a fair question and request, so I will do it. XLM, this is where you are. Let's have a look at the daily, because that's quite a big time frame. That's monthly. We know the monthly setup. XLM not holding up as well as XRP. And I've said this many times. So another ranty lecture comes straight out of the top drawer. I know what I'm going to say before I even say it, because we've had this one before. You are double jamming when you do XRP and XLM. XLM probably in one valiant moment, which in a very small time window, if you totally nail it, will probably do number bigger than XRP at some point. But let me tell you, none of that will be worth trying to achieve. You get far more backbone out of XRP. You get huge fizzlebacks in XLM that you have to sit through with long, grinding, soul-destroying sell-offs that come all the way back. The difference, XRP has more clear levels of support and doesn't pull back like a girl. XLM spikes and fizzles, and 99% of the time you're sitting in a fizzle after a spike. And that is frustrating, even though it may go in the end, when it has its spike, it might outspike. The biggest number isn't the best trade. The best trade is the biggest number that you can afford to stay in on the journey path, not getting shaken out. And that's the difference between the two. And that is why I continue to emphasize, rather take the XRP. It'll be it's still going to be a choppy and bumpy ride, but XLM will be surreal. You know, you can take a bouncy car with lots of bumps and a bit of rocks, but you don't want to actually flip completely, because that doesn't matter how good you hold on, you're getting killed anyway. So I would take the safer ride of XRP. You would not be sitting here and just watching a perpetual psychological bleeding P&L for days upon days in, wondering how far this will fizzle and whether it'll run. If I put XRP under it, just to prove that point, XRP is going to be more solid and there's a bit more bid stack under it. Let's do it. There it is, XRP. We stay with stamp, and there you go. So which one is fizzling back the most? Let's bring these two down. XLM more so. Let's drop to the daily. Funny enough, XRP, which was actually a hammer on the daily, has now gone back to a red. So Bitcoin is obviously going further down. These guys are not entirely independent of effect of Bitcoin. Bitcoin absolutely gets slaughtered and it does damage to the alt market. Anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Let's go see how bad it was on Bitcoin, because we got a new alert that popped that says 94. That is a spiller. It's an absolute thriller. You guys should be short. You should be loving it. You should be having a great day. This is real stress on MAXIs. This is real stress on the MAXIs. Boy, oh boy, this is real stress on the MAXIs. Those of you that would like this is not terrible timing, by the way, for Richard Hart's sacrifice. I also think it's a terrible read of the overall market for him. He's doing the privacy prove coin. I just think it's bad timing. I don't have an axe to grind with him. I think he was very straight with me and helped me actually. And deep down, I don't think he wants to run away with anybody's money. There's lots of people who say, oh, he's just trying to scam. But he has got very wealthy out of sacrifices. And I was very glad to, in my own experience, to have dumped the pulse that I got out of the sacrifice for a 2.3 multiple, and the Pulse X that I sacrificed, not quite 2.3 on the Pulse X. I think I got about 1.8 on the open when there was just mad demand, because since then, those tokens are left languishing, and he's been disappointed recently by everybody's non-participation. What? Only 1 million in SAC, he said? Oh dear, it looks like he's deleted that post on his new. Here we go. Only $1 million. He hasn't deleted it. Only $1 million in the ProveX sacrifice so far. Well, mate, people will keep sacrificing and rinse repeating your game if they're in a flush cycle, which they aren't, and if the previous one that they participated with you is working. The bag holders, which is most people, because most didn't do what I did, everyone was super optimistic, saying, hey, we're going to jump to gazillion.com, didn't get out and take the multiple. And I'd sacrificed quite big. I'd sent whatever it was, 200 ETH or whatever it was at the time for the Pulse, and 100 ETH for the Pulse X. I was very happy to just dump into that FOMO. We never got to the sacrifice bid and got out. Since then, it's been disappointing. It's been disappointing. And the sad fact is some of that's been thrown back at the participants if we're talking about this. So I'm just going to go Dex screener and try get some. I'm not good at this anymore. I'm quite stupid, actually, I have to say. But PulseX, look at PulseX. Boy, oh boy. So glad to have got out up top there. Look at it now. And you've got to say the current crypto environment isn't helping. This is not all on Richard. But he says, you guys need to go marketing. Well, actually, when people give me money to manage in a hedge fund, and I earn fees and I'm getting richer because of their participation, I don't say go and shill the shares I bought, go and shill the shares I bought, pump them up. You know, what do you mean the performance is bad? Go and tell everybody what a great investment Palantir is. Go do it. Go sell. You don't complain about the performance, go sell. Well, people do complain about the performance because they trusted you. They trusted you because they wanted to get rich. They all were in there for getting rich, even though they play the game saying, not expecting gain, all that stuff. And I also think the delay in Pulse coming out and the outrage marketing and the fancy Louis Vuitton outfits and look at me living my best life rich when people were waiting for their own wealth to come and their own project to finish, probably rang people a little bit ragged. And then the non-performance after the initial surge, which came with PulseX. Let's have a look at Hex. Where's Hex on this? You know, this is not a good chart. This is not a good chart. Then some of the comments that were made about eHex, the original Hex, about walking away and it should all be on Pulse and this is now a garbage coin now and all of that. It's kind of, it could have rubbed some folk up the wrong way. Just a suggestion. But most of this can be explained by terrible timing. You left it too late. Terrible bull market. Generally, most of the people that would be buyers of Hex are not in Bitcoin. Terrible, you rushed the marketing and you didn't do the hype build up and all of it like it was the first time. You thought you could just say, hey, here's my next project. Everyone form an orderly queue. Well, guess what? If they're still hurting from the last one, they ain't rushing in on the new one. And that's kind of where you are. I mean, all these charts look very much like this, you know, and ink. No, I missed the point of that. I don't understand it. I'm not being funny. I just don't know what it is. I don't know what I was supposed to do. I don't know anything. It was an incentive. I don't know. What does that mean? That's the chart on that, by the way. That's the chart on that. Let's just get a weekly, see if we can get a week. That's the chart on it. At some point, it was a woohoo of a major surge. Well, I'm afraid that is a bottom feeder. All these charts have turned into absolute plankton, bottom feeding cockroaches of the sea. You know, they're grinding along the lows. Where's the liquidity? You're the marketeer. You're the guy to bring in new people. You're the guy that needs true. You're the scaled person that people will listen to. You're the guy that everybody bought into. You're their leader. You're their king. As I say, for me personally, no axe to grind, but I can understand why a sacrifice for another token at this time, right now, perfectly with Bitcoin spilling its guts, the market cap spilling from the sun, especially from someone who claims to have called the top perfectly every time. It's very peculiar timing to have done that for project success. You would have probably have positioned while in the making of October the 6th at 126K maybe. And even still, I don't think it would have been particularly successful because these projects are not doing that great and they were excluded from being sacrificed. So you couldn't take the existing projects as sacrifice. Why? Because he's getting that sacrifice. He has all he wants of his own tokens, probably. He likes the ETH. He likes to have thousands of ETH. It's a liquid thing and the other things. So the other tokens that he'll be getting sacked is what he wants. He doesn't want you to send him P-Hex. He doesn't want him to send him ink. He doesn't want you to send that. So it's kind of a little bit, I kind of feel sorry, mainly more for the buyers of what he was pushing and its performance than I do. And I feel lucky to have got out as well as I did. I've actually managed to make money on every one. But we called tops on eHex when it did just under 50 cents and it went all the way. And we said it will go below a full cent and it did. That's what happened. And then he walked away. Then he spoke rather dejectedly about it and said you should be all in PX. So, you know, we've been pretty good on the RichardH stable of events. We've actually managed to make money every time. But We choose what's good for us, not, oh, you diamonds hands talk. No, 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 no. I see hype. I see this. I wonder about follow through. I see a little bit of hubris, and then I'm going, not so much, not so much, not so much the outrage marketing. We have a very nice super chat from Moses2323. Moses, thank you for your super chat, friend. $10. Hi, Francis. Was wondering if you still believe Bitcoin will hit 140 to 150K during the final stages of this current bull cycle. I think that is under serious compromise. Any notions of that is under serious compromise. And since that October the 6th work that I saw from somebody else, it looks to me very much like there's real problems in Bitcoin land. And the problem, the interesting fact, by the way, is Bitcoin hodlers can't ever bring themselves to short. They're not traders. They're not true traders. People are long only. Even in the alt markets, they're long only. They don't make money on the short side. We did say that this could be a falling wedge, but warning, if you spill out of the bottom of this, it's going to be brutal. That was the tweet, and we put it in there. So let's leave poor Richard for a while, and the Bitcoin maxes. He's not so poor. He's done quite dandy. I think it's sometimes, you know, there's a little bit of Mary Antoinette, let them eat cake. He's not feeling, although apparently that was never attributed to her. They wanted that excuse to chop her head off. That was throwing over the kings of France, probably done by the Zionists of today, the forefathers of them, by the way, who make up sayings and rewrite history all the time. So it was apparently not said. I'm glad I sold Bitcoin at the all-time high, greater than 100,000. You're seeing all of this. This guy's having fun. Driving my Ferrari. Yeah. Okay. So what were you talking about? So the Bitcoin at 140, 150K. We're trying to find that post following the super chat. And what we did warn is that, you know, you do have a falling wedge, but heaven help you if you do the type 3 falling wedge where you spill out the bottom. And that's kind of what's happening. So let's just show that. That was the tweet. Warning, the downside spill variety out of the structure could be a kill shot soever. So you better hope this pops upside. If this doesn't space and do that, you go type 3, you get the full blown, it turns into very ugly. And I think it looks like we're getting more of that. So Moses, this is looking quite a serious setback. Outside of major liquidity coming in the not too distant future, if they're letting this thing run and you're going to have a bit of a tech correction, you could have had your top on October the 6th. If we get a whole bunch of, you know, emergency, and they won't do this just for the crypto market, by the way. I'm sure Trump is short. I'm sure the Trump family is short Bitcoin. Hey, if you can't stand the volatility, stay out of the casino. No crying in the casino. Yeah, I'm sure they're saying that while they're laughing behind your back and taking everybody's money. And they can see how everyone's positioned in the exchanges because they have all the exchange CEOs on speed dial. It's not a fair game, guys. It's not a fair game. If they're calling this back down, it's going back down. And we've given you ideas around the 30s where it might go down to, and it can go beyond that if we have a full-blown NASDAQ crash, and it could go less bad than that if you don't really have too much happening on the stock market. But I would say the stock market is a real worry. So thank you for your question. Let's just show you the chats. Where did the 150 come from? And has it been invalidated? So there's always a level of invalidation, by the way. So let's just get that done and talk to you about the level of the value of invalidation. There you go. He spat it out in the end. So that is right shoulder, and that is the left shoulder. That's where that 150 came from. Small shoulders. Particularly this last one, which is why you went into a holding pattern quite soon. You didn't really have a proper shakeout, so you had another shakeout. Then it looked like everything was right, and then bang. So this has been very stop-start. And I refer you back to the diagram, probably the most important chart I showed you of Bitcoin OG wallets. People selling 500 million. Let's have no illusion. That is a big sum of original Bitcoin. They'd already started distributing here, and they came in hard here. This is a real problem. These are real selling. You've been squeezed up in a rising wedge. Any high has been sold by massive amounts. Massive. That even a strategy and all these mailers going to start a treasury company too, guys. Go and invest. Mailer, little kid mailer. are coming in and trying to bring exit liquidity, and the shill news that they're pushing out, rotation trade into Bitcoin, the amount of it, they are getting exit liquidity for 3-letter agents that were in from the agency people that are high up in the whole scam from the beginning. That's my opinion. So I think you could, in fact, be high. If you held a gun to my head, I would say quite possibly we've made the high, and this gets set back badly. But we never know. If we get a big liquidity flush, we get a COVID event, we could have a further acceleration to the spill, and then you could get a major spike back, and everyone will be back bull, and we'll be looking back at how bearish we sounded and all the bearish things we said. So it's always dictated by environment. Everything is changeable, but the pattern failure is here. And by the way, our 70% stroke 75% pullback, which we used, which was like this last time's one, which some people objected to, would bring you to the 31,000. So that would trigger that. So what is the low? Let's give you that value on that particular pattern. The low is 38.505. That takes back the right shoulder that originally gave you the 150,000 projection. We've never thrown out 1 million. We've never thrown a number bigger than 150,000 on that. And it was subject to a pattern, and it has a level at which it fails, and it has a level which is a neckline. And you'd been performing fairly poorly to it in a grinding rising wedge manner. And that is your grinding rising wedge, and you are now spilling. That pattern is under some threat to me. That pattern is under some threat. However, you know, you can still be valid, run all the way to the 49 in a DDE, massive quadrillions of QE, and pump to 150. It could still happen. But this is a ropey, this whole performance move up has not been like previous bull legs up. Even the recovery leg after the smackdown, this has been very, over any decent time period, it's been very soft, and it's run into heavy selling. And I would suggest those original wallets know something. The original wallets know something. This is not your future. This is not your future wealth. It's not going to $1 million a coin. You don't need just one Satoshi to live like a king for the rest of your life. And everything else that maximalist Saylor has parroted. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming on. Don't forget to hit the link to join us and to talk more. We will be doing occasional updates like this, but we talk about all these things inside the community with greater detail. We take questions and answers. We do regular sessions in the crypto space as well as the traditional market space. We do all the time what I am doing, what actual investments I'm putting. Sometimes I even share the order sheet, where I'm buying at, where the stop losses are. Win, lose, it's on your own head. It's non-advisory. We run a community of the willing. We recognize that there is a surveillance finance grid coming, and that you need alternatives outside of your home nation where you can hold precious metals, build wealth, and ensure that you are in the strongest position to move forward. Anyway, with that all said, we'll love you and leave you. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Share our content. It's a currency. And let's have a final run on the comments to see if there's anything I missed. Great Alpha, Francis. Respect, sir. BTC on live support. Cheers, Francis. Everyone saying goodbye. Saylor, Kaiser, Mark Moses, all Bitcoin zealots. I have to agree with that. And I wonder if they are not funded. Remember, NSA token, with regards to that, Israel is openly funding per post influencers in the Zio space. You could be facing the likes of Mark Moss and all of these guys being paid. I noticed that Lynn Alden, who was a very good grand macro analyst, suddenly pivoted a big Bitcoin adherent. And I was quite disappointed. She was smart, she was intelligent, she was eloquent in many ways, and now she got involved, you know, got introduced to Backed and Custody and various other became CEOs, all in the crypto space, when she was generally grand macro, all things, everything, gold, silver, you know, the whole world. And suddenly the narrative has turned, and suddenly, you know, Bitcoin is the original iPhone, and everything else that followed is just a cheap copy, and all of this also maximalist nonsense. These, when people pivot that were otherwise concise, accurate, and looked like they were showing truth, and that worries me. It points to money. People change their tunes for money. People who already have money don't have to change their tunes. I'm kind of like that. I'm lucky that way. I'm going to keep telling you exactly what I think. I don't know how to be anything else. Other people get paid and they change how they think. It's quite interesting. Money changes how you think. If the person who's paying it to you decides that. And you've got to be careful out there. It's a sad fact. There was another $10 loose. Thanks, bro. Okay, no question. Thank you very much to Who's at Crypto. We appreciate you and your kind offer without asking for anything in return. We salute you and we wish you well. And be safe out there. And thank you for being a supporter of the channel. Till next time, I'll catch you later, guys. Bye-bye.